you know. So he talked about Chukwueze, the football, the penalty, where he was being lackadaisical, was showing gum and all that. Well, personally, I feel, well, he should have showed more seriousness to show the seriousness of the situation. But I just think it was just a coping mechanism. Chukwueze is someone who likes to joke and fun person, but you see that when he had a full opportunity, he had more time to play. He played very well, you know. So he's a good player, and it was just a coping mechanism. Which international football star has not missed penalty before? Which football star? Go back. Which legends they've missed penalties? You have a crucial penalty. You know, if you miss it, your country is out. That capacity stadium. You know, nerves. People that a number of people I see showing gum, they do it when under stressful situations. When they have something to present or something stressful, they chew gum. It's a coping mechanism. Whether he was chewing gum or not, he could have missed it against a goalkeeper who is good, you know. So that should not be enough to just dismiss Chukwueze because he missed penalty. Chewing gum or not, serious or not, you could still lose the penalty. It's a coin toss. Penalty is coin toss. It's just for the keeper to guess where you want to place it and move fast. And then he saves the penalty, you know. So that one, Chukwueze should be left alone. He's done his bits. And it's the situation of things. Nigeria has lost. Nigeria couldn't score in regular time, which would have been the preferred thing. If Nigeria could have scored in regular time, we would have stood a better chance of surviving the semi-final. And then he talked about social media. Bovi said, oh, these Eagles are too much social media and all that. Alexi Iwobi, who is the key person that is being fingered or being talked about in terms of social media presence. Alexi Iwobi he's been before yesterday game, he has been praised for his beautiful passes, for being a beautiful player in the midfield, you know, giving excellent passes, key passes that have, you know, cut through defense, and, you know, even with his vlog, even with what he does in social media, when he gets to the pitch, he does well. And he has played well. You know, does he do social media while training? Does he do social media when they're having technical sessions? Does he, instead of resting at night or sleep well, does he wake up and do social media? They don't train 24 hours. Even in professional clubs. Check the videos. I watched the video where Ndidi Boniface and one other Nigerian player were interviewed. You know, and they said they don't train 24 hours, even in the club. That's why Ndidi was able to have a degree while playing. They don't train for 24 hours. They train for some hours and they have other times to themselves to do other things. And so if a player uses, let's say they arrive at a hotel and they've not started anything serious, and he carries his camera and make a video. What is wrong about that? You go to Nigeria they don't invest so much in the players. They don't put them in good conditions, you know, poor welfare, and they will put them in hotels, poor hotels with poor conditions, and he makes a video about it. What is wrong with that? You arrive in a hotel, before any serious thing happens, you see the bad situation of the hotel and you make a video about it. What's wrong? Does he do the video 24 hours? So this issue, is on social media. There's nothing wrong with that. In as much as he's always on time on training, in as much as it doesn't interfere with his training, it doesn't interfere with his mentality. When he gets to the pitch, he gives his 100. And he has been receiving praise for the strategic passes he has been making. So now that Nigeria has lost to Morocco in a penalty shootout, you now want to cast Alex Iwobi for being present on social media. Social media is getting to their head, all those kind of things. What's that? They are football stars. They are already popular. They're already known. You understand? And they already have following. If you are a football star representing your country, playing in professional clubs, you will have fans. Social media and off social media. So this talk of, because of social media, I don't really get that. Then he talked about heroes. The heroes of the past. He mentioned a number of heroes, Rashidi Yekini. These people are legends. We look up to them. Okay, let's talk about the legend some of the legends he mentioned. Let's talk about Rashidi Yekini. How was Rashidi Yekini before he died? Rashidi Yekini that lived, he was living in a poor condition before he died. Rashidi Yekini that was said to have mental health issues, isolation. How well did the government, the NFF, the Football Federation and all that, how well did they look after Rashidi Yekini, the great Rashidi Yekini, who's the highest goal scorer for the Nigerian team ever? How well did Nigeria take care of Rashidi when he retired from playing football? How well did Nigeria take care of him? You want these current players to be legends of the game, to win tournaments, and you don't care how well they are being taken care of. If they are not being taken care of now when they are playing, is it when they stop playing? There is no plan to take care of them after they stop playing football. There is no plan. And it's been like that. There are other football legends who have suffered. Let me look for other examples that I noted down, to bring home these points about legends of the game. Okay, I mentioned Rashidi Yekini. Peter Rufai, they said when he was sick and had to receive treatment abroad and all that, he didn't receive support from the government. When he died, for his funeral, it was friends and people that were putting things together. What kind of support did Peter Rufai get? Peter Rufai and his family get? Coaches people like Christian Shuku, Stephen Keshi, they were owed money before they died. These were great coaches for Nigeria. Nigeria still owed them before they passed on. Look at the case of Thompson Oliha. Thompson Oliha played for Nigeria in midfield 1994 World Cup, silver at 1992 AFCON. Thompson Oliha died at the age of 44 of malaria complications. They said what contributed to his death was inability to afford proper medical care. This Thompson Oliha. This Thompson Oliha. That in his later years, he was coaching youth teams without pay, and that he was living in poverty, and that he was relying on meager support from friends, not from the government. Thompson Oliha died from malaria complications. This was a Nigerian midfielder who played in the World Cup and they won silver at AFCON. Look at the treatment he received. So now you want to tell me that when we know that they are not going to get care when they stop playing for Nigeria, they're not going to get care. You want them to not get what they are owed now that they are still playing for Nigeria. What are the chances that if they are not being paid now that they are players, that they can get anything when they retire? What are the chances? And we know that in Nigeria, you cannot achieve anything, public service, without strikes, without collective bargaining. If you are not part of a powerful union in Nigeria civil service, public service, look at Nopeng. Look at Nopeng, Pegasin. Powerful unions in the oil sector. Because they are so powerful, they are able to get things. Nigerian refineries are not working. But there are people receiving salary. There are people being paid. In those people who are in those refineries, who are working for those refineries, who are still being paid. Look at powerful unions like ASU. ASU, they got a landmark agreement with federal government signed yesterday. How could they have achieved it without strike, without collective bargaining? Look at NAD, AROD, National Association of Resident Doctors. What doctors have been able to get, the government, the little improvement that the government has made in the welfare package that doctors receive in Nigeria is because of the fight of National Association of Resident Doctors, and because of the strikes they've engaged in before, and because of the power of collective bargaining that they've engaged in before. So we know that in Nigeria, you cannot achieve anything meaningful without participating in strike and without collective bargaining. You can't. And that is why I support the strike by the Super Eagles. When they said they will not train before the World Cup playoff with Congo, it was in order. Because without strike, without being able to withhold a form of service, you won't get anything from the government. And that's a fact. It's not just this government, it has been like that. Military and civilian, it has been like that. Why do you think pensioners are suffering? Pensioners, retirees, people, I'm not talking about retirees of football now. Civil service, people who serve Nigeria for 35 years or who've achieved the age of 65 in service when they retire, and they're not getting what their benefits, they're not getting their pensions paid, they're not getting their allowances and all those things paid. Some are not getting gratuities and they keep suffering. Why do they keep suffering? Because they cannot go on strike. Pensioners cannot go on strike because they are retired. They cannot engage in effective bargaining because they don't have anything to withhold. They are old, elderly. They can't go on the street to protest because they go on the streets, they collapse, and some of them pass on. Even while they are screening them, they say, "Oh, come here, line up, screen." Some of them collapse while waiting to be screened. So, without strike, without collective bargaining, you can't get anything. It's not supposed to be that. It's not, sometimes you feel bad that the strike happens, right? Like the doctors going on strike, you feel bad about it, But at the end of the day, you ask yourself, what are the other alternatives? Federal government will enter agreement with the union and say, okay, we are going to do ABC. In the course of the year, if the government cannot meet up with any of those things they've agreed, instead of calling the union back to the table and say, yes, we agree to do this, and this, but we can't be able to meet up because of certain economic realities and all that. Instead of doing that, they just leave the union to be. Union will give threats and everything. They won't meet with them until the threat of a strike or until a strike holds. You know. Unlike some countries, there are countries that have social benefits package. There are countries that have ways to take care of retirees and elderly. Not necessarily people who play football, not necessarily people who play sports, but they have these safety nets, social security and healthcare coverage and all that for people who have retired and all of that. So there are systems in place to help those who are elderly, who are retired. And then, like in the US, the people who are 65 and older, they form a major voting bloc, right? And so they are able, because they can vote and because they can sway elections, politicians will pay serious heed to their concerns. Politicians will then not tamper with things that will benefit the elderly age group because they know that these people vote and that their votes count and that their votes matter. And as such, politicians pay attention to how they can be good to that group. But Nigeria, young or old, the votes usually doesn't count. And as such, there's no leverage that the retired person has to hold the government to account. No leverage. The only time you can hold the government to account is when you are still active in service. So you are still active playing football for Nigeria. That is when you can hold the government to account. That's when you can hold the NFF to account. That's when you can tell them, you don't pay me allowances, I'm not going to play. Because that is the only time you see them running around trying to make sure that these payments are made. Otherwise, they will just say, be patriotic. People, NFF officials, you have situations whereby Nigeria will qualify for a tournament for not just football, for athletics and all that, and you have more officials going to that tournament than the athletes, than the players. Because the officials want to benefit from the money they will get, such that they form more of the contingents that go to that tournament. So that is why I say that I support when the Eagles strike. They strike at a strategic time. They were World Cup playoff against Congo. They still have some days and they wanted to make a statement. And they did. And there were movements towards paying them. And in this tournament now, the same thing has happened. Where it's not only the players, even the coaches are not guaranteed their pay. And the players have to agitate. To the point that the captain, Wilfred Ndidi, has to now say that he will pay. So the NFF, the Sports Commission, those who are in charge should be held to account. Whatever lapses, whatever happens, they too bear responsibility for it. Go and check the retirement benefits if you are a former governor. If you check, it's not